What is up, my friends? How are we? It is Wednesday. You're very welcome along as always. Thank you for joining me this evening. Look, it's going to be a bit of a mixed evening tonight. We're going to be speaking about some positive updates. We're going to be speaking about some negative updates. But ultimately, we're going to be discussing the transfer window and what might happen. We're going to be giving you the latest on Real Madrid's battle with Liverpool over when to release Trent Alexander-Arnold. We're going to be speaking about Huijsen. We're going to be talking about Wirtz. We're going to be speaking about a Bologna centre-back, a bit more on Frimpong, and loads of other bits and pieces. So, as Colin mentioned in the chat, I think everybody needs to have their tinfoil hats at the ready because bit of a mixed bag. Some great positive stuff, but the centre-back situation looks like, well, we're fighting a losing battle by the looks of it around Huijsen, and that's understandable. So we'll go through that, lots more, over the course of the next few hours. As always, this is a two-way street. We want you guys to help us with the show. Let us know the subjects you want to discuss. Let us know how you're feeling about them in the comments. And of course, if you haven't hit that like button for me, get it in nice and early. There's a "that's what she said" joke there somewhere, but anyway, we move on. So look, let's kick off tonight with the downer. Let's get the downer out of the way, shall we? Because, you know, it's always best to start off with the bad news. And the bad news is, it looks like Liverpool are about to lose the battle for Huijsen, at least according to many in the media. And look, I can understand losing to Real Madrid in this regard, but I also want to say that if it does, for any reason, not work out at Madrid, Liverpool are his preferred preference in the Premier League, as I've been saying for a while. But it looks as if that move to Madrid is inching closer. Di Marzio, Romano, and many others now starting to post about it. Lawyers are now working to finalise Dean Huijsen's transfer to Real Madrid. Madrid said Di Marzio. Fabrizio Romano had something similar as well. So I do feel like we're going to miss out there, and you know, there's not much we can really do about it, is there? You know, if you are a young centre-back and you've just broken into the Spanish national team and you're going to be on the move this summer anyway, I can understand the appeal of Madrid to Huijsen, I can. But, you know, it doesn't mean that it doesn't sting and it doesn't hurt because we all wanted him at Liverpool. But I'd rather lose out to Madrid in this scenario than to the likes of Chelsea or Arsenal. At least we're not strengthening a Premier League rival, albeit it is still a bit of a bloody nose, shall we say. Eddie said FSG have let us down with signings before. Well, there we go. We're kicking it off in this regard. So let's get stuck into that. On FSG, right? I had a really interesting bit of analysis put to me earlier on by somebody around FSG and the future of Liverpool Football Club. And one thing that struck me from this information was that they're getting a little bit agitated with having to put money into Liverpool Football Club. Now, Liverpool Football Club have increased in value since they took it over for about 300 million, 400 million, including the debt that was on the club at the time from Huijsen Gillette. And it's now worth somewhere up to about £4.5–5 billion as a club. But they don't want to be putting money into the club. They want the club to be self-sufficient for one reason, because they're going to make their money at the end game when they sell it in the valuation. So they want Liverpool to be breaking even. They want Liverpool to be spending what they make so they don't have to fund it and they can just get the money when they sell the club down the line. So I don't know what that means for this summer's transfer market, if anything, but when you read the stories and you see the articles that suggest that they're getting frustrated with having to prop up Liverpool Football Club, it's not a great start. But as I said, that's just a piece, that's just one set of analysis, but what happens in this summer's window remains to be seen. But let me say one thing. Liverpool have by far the lowest net spend on transfers of the big six by a country mile. I think we're ranked 10th in the Premier League in that regard, so they might be fed up with it, but I tell you what, us fans are certainly fed up about them not putting their hands in their pockets and backing Liverpool and the manager, so they best do it this summer. And to that regard, I think this is going to be the make or break window for Liverpool fans that are in any way on the fence about John W. Henry and FSG. And by the way, Echo, you love ignoring Anfield Agenda, but you basically robbed one of our lines for their article. Does this sound familiar to you? I'll just read out one paragraph. And where's the Wirtz money, John? They start off with, where's the Wirtz money, John? That's a line that may well be doing the rounds on Liverpool social media. I wonder what handsome bastard came up with that little phrase. Anyway, sorry, I digress. That sounds like Glazernomics. Scary. I mean, we'd all love to buy something, wouldn't we? Not have to actually put our own money into it and it to just shoot up in value at an astronomical amount, which Liverpool have, to be fair. So I don't know what it means for this transfer window, but again, it just doesn't exactly fill me full of confidence when you've seen pieces the other day suggesting FSG are reinvigorated and ready to go. I just hope that the stuff that we're going to talk about tonight, from a positive standpoint, of which there is a lot, comes to fruition. Because what we don't want is more of this similar situation. Liverpool are looking at Wirtz. Liverpool expect Wirtz to go to Bayern, but if it doesn't happen, Liverpool will be there to pull the trigger and try to do the deal. Have we heard that before? Yes, we've heard it many, many times. So, for me, as a fan right now, I don't want to see us hovering around players that we're not 100% sure about or haven't got a perfect plan in place for. That's what this last year was for Hughes and Edwards and the recruitment team. To make sure that they knew exactly what way we were going to progress in this window and start striking off those targets early. So let's wait and see where the priorities lay. But it's all very well and good us getting excited about Florian Wirtz, but I'm tired of getting excited about a player and then seeing them swan off elsewhere. So one of these big links has to be proven true at some point for FSG, or once again we're going to be feeling frustrated. So yeah, on Huijsen, look, if he goes to Madrid, no surprise. But if he doesn't, I would honestly say Liverpool, as I've said all the way through, would be the front runners and the ones that he would look to move to in the Premier League. That's from somebody within his agency. So that's where I'm at with that one. But again, can't compete if Madrid wants him and he wants to go there. There's not much we can do about that. Jordan said, imagine having to prop up a 5 billion asset that you got for 300 million. Must be fucking terrible. And do you know what though? Part of it, the moaning in the piece I was talking about, was about the 200 million they had to spend or loan Liverpool for the main stand. So they're moaning about most of the money that they're owed by the club to increase the value of their asset by the extension that they funded. It just makes me despise them more and more as every single window goes by. But I'm open to a positive window in this one, and let's see what happens, because there are lots of interesting stories. And let's get stuck into... Do you want to go Frimpong first or Florian Wirtz first? I'll let you guys decide. Rusba said, we should be focusing on competing with Europe's elite squads, Madrid, Barcelona, PSG, by spending more. One of the reasons players go to Madrid is they keep winning the Champions League. Liverpool should start winning Champions Leagues again. Well, if you look at Barcelona and you look at their squad, a lot of that squad is made up of prospects brought through at Barcelona that they've managed to keep. So if you look at Madrid's, it's a lot different, isn't it? It's a lot of players running down their deals who leave late, or a lot of young players who are brought in for transfer fees that were pretty high but with low wages. The ones that I like to try to compare Liverpool to are Bayern Munich, in my mind, because we're very similar, I think, in stature, in valuations, in income, and they're the type of clubs that I like to look to. So if they're trying to push for Florian Wirtz and making a big play for him, then we best be here and pushing for him. But we're seeing so much mixed reporting around Florian Wirtz today that it's hard to understand and figure out quite who is right and who is wrong. And I'll give you a good example of that now. So let's look at two posts around Florian Wirtz, very quick with very different takes. Let's start off with Cave Solakal of Sky. And he said, Liverpool are not working on a deal to sign Florian Wirtz from Bayer Leverkusen at the moment. They did not meet the player in England yesterday. He's a player they've been aware of for some time, and in the event of there being any prospect of him wanting to move to England, they would be interested. As things stand, the indications appear that he wants to remain in Germany, whether by staying at Bayer Leverkusen or moving to Bayern Munich. Liverpool will continue to monitor the situation. So that was one post, and then almost at the same time, David Ornstein posts, and David Ornstein said, Liverpool make contact with Florian Wirtz camp to express interest in signing playmaker if he leaves Bayer Leverkusen and is keen on moving to England. The Liverpool administration, long-standing but unclear on the plans to sign him or for him to leave Germany. But then you contrast that with an outlet that his name I cannot pronounce, so excuse me, but they're an official website in Germany with great links that have nearly 2 million followers, and they said, one second, They said the destination in England was not Manchester City headquarters. Guardiola would have loved to welcome the Wirtz family there, but there was no appointment or meeting with Wirtz or his parents. Instead, the Wirtz family and representatives met with Liverpool. This story, by the way, has been backed up quite a bit. This one here from Kicker said Liverpool can easily match Bayer Leverkusen's asking price for Florian Wirtz. Different publication in Germany. Bill said Florian Wirtz and his family were with Liverpool officials for over an hour in Blackpool. And we do know we love Blackpool. Just ask Virgil. The race for Florian Wirtz has become intense, said Kicker. Liverpool are now also involved, said Christian Falk. The English champions and their coach Arne Slot are extremely interested in strengthening their squad with Wirtz. Then we have Christian Falk again saying Florian Wirtz flew to Blackpool to meet Liverpool officials yesterday. He then flew to Manchester. Whether he met with City officials remains to be seen. So see what I mean on this? So much conflicting reporting. But one thing that is consistent is that at least Liverpool are looking at the Wirtz situation. So whether we've met with him, whether he came to Blackpool coincidentally or not, isn't for me to say. But for what it's worth, this one is that I will definitely believe it when I see it, because £126 million is the number. That's the number that Manchester City are apparently willing to pay. Bayern Munich don't want to go above 80, but why would he be at Blackpool? Why would he have come to meet with Liverpool if there was no intent there? It feels like somebody's telling porcupines somewhere. And I was sitting back watching Sky last night, and they just don't mention Liverpool in any of these stories. So they were talking about Huijsen, they were talking about Chelsea and Real Madrid, talking about Wirtz, Manchester City and Bayern Munich. It's almost as if they just don't want to include Liverpool in any of these stories or links, and it pisses me off. Anyway, we'll keep going with this Wirtz stuff because there's so much more that I haven't even touched on yet. I never get excited with the owners that we have, said David Massett. Corbyn said, I don't want another joke of a summer where we have a saga and the player doesn't even come. Need a big summer. Wirtz doesn't seem likely to me. Look, for what it's worth, do I think we sign Florian Wirtz? My instinct says no, because, well, a couple of things. One, it isn't the position that you and I and most of us sitting here would say we are desperately in need of. We're talking striker, we're talking left back, maybe right back, and certainly centre back. So, for me, Wirtz would be great. If you moved on Elliott and you threw a load of money in on top for Wirtz, on top of whatever we got for Elliott, that would be great. But how big a priority is he? And how big a play have we made for him? All that's going to come out, I guess, over the coming days. But what we haven't seen is a blank denial of any interest from anybody around the Liverpool circles or any journalist covering Liverpool. So I'm really on the fence on this one. I believe that we're probably being kept informed on the situation. But let me just put it straight to the chat. I'm going to ask you straight out, do you think FSG would pay the money for Wirtz? And we'll see how people feel about that. 1 second. Okay, so do you think FSG would pay the £120 million for Wirtz? We'll leave that running while I go through some more of the news, and we'll come back and check on it in a while. And by the way, folks, if you are in with us and you haven't yet hit that like button, please do. And if you haven't subscribed, we'd love you to do that as well. Right, let me just check in on this to make sure it's up okay. Yeah, so poll is up there. If you get a chance, vote away, and we'll come back to it in a bit. Aaron said, scared to get excited about Wirtz. Ornstein has been way off lately regarding Liverpool transfers. It's a really difficult one to get a read on, isn't it? Because as I've mentioned, so many different reporters with so many different takes. The German side really seems to be pushing Liverpool's interest. And what kind of gets me about this is Christian Falk, as we know, covers Bayern extensively. And he's been the one talking about Liverpool meeting with him and Liverpool being a realistic possibility and Liverpool, their interest worrying Bayern Munich. And that's what makes me intrigued by it all. We know that Liverpool don't really leak stuff and that the English side has been, pretty tame with regards to break and transfer stories. It always seems to be on the European side of it. And I just, as much as I want to believe it, I just cannot see us dropping that type of money on Wirtz. But is he worth it? Yeah, probably. Genuinely, if you're going to say to me, is he a 100 million plus footballer? Yes, he is. He is probably the best creative force behind an attacker, or at the best in Europe of finding space between the lines. He'd be incredible. And every single Liverpool fan on the planet would love Florian Wirtz. But I don't want to come on here and get everyone's hopes up only for us to have another Caicedo situation again. So we'll wait and see how this one progresses. But certainly feels like Liverpool have let it be known that they're interested. But lots of conjecture about whether he does want to stay in Germany. And because Leverkusen seem to be really pissed off at Bayern Munich. If you look at the reports in the German media, they seem to feel like they've been too aggressive in their pursuit of Wirtz and that they would prefer to sell him outside the Bundesliga. And that makes sense. I know they're going to lose a lot of players this summer, but they're not. I imagine they look at Bayern Munich the same way we look at Real Madrid. Will they ever stop? Will they ever piss off trying to just take all the best players from the league? So for them, moving him outside the Bundesliga makes a lot of sense. And if that's the case, and he isn't going to stay in Germany, you would hope that we're at the front of that queue. But again, will John spend the money? Wirtz will be at Bayern Munich. Liverpool are just trying to give us fans hope. We all know FSG aren't doing this deal. But here's the thing again. Right now, Stevie boy, as Liverpool fans, it's been a very up and down last week or so. So we've got the Premier League sorted out. Then we've had the whole Trent drama, kind of taken some of the goodness out of that. I struggle to see, if they're briefing on this one that we are looking at them or interested, how a big downer they think is going to pan out in anything other than frustration again. Surely they know that the Caicedo situation pissed everyone off and was a mess. Surely they know that we're all tired of our name being linked, but ultimately never making the big jump or paying what it takes to get a proven star. So if they do want to make a signal of intent, well, then this type of signing would be the very one to do it. But if I'm a betting man, I feel like exactly what you said will happen. We'll get he wants to stay in Germany stuff, but Liverpool are there. And if, like the Lenny Yoro stuff for Real Madrid, when it was, oh, well, if Real Madrid don't pull the trigger on that, Liverpool will be there, until they didn't. And then all of a sudden we weren't, because when push came to shove, they wouldn't pony up the money. Gary, thank you, my man. Aryan said, reports saying Barca want to take Frimpong. Yeah, one report that hasn't been substantiated by anyone I've spoken to. And I will move on to Frimpong in a bit, my man, don't worry. But I think I can put your mind at ease on that one. Do you think Dumfries will be a good replacement? I think he's too old. How old is Denzel Dumfries now? He must be like 28, 29, is he? Sorry, there was a few other comments that I wanted to get back through that I hope I didn't miss. 1 second. Yeah, I've done them. Cool. More chance of Nunes being called a striker, said Neil. Stephen Shupping said, Craig, Florian to LFC taken from City would be like when Van Persie left City to join United. He left Arsenal to join United. Yeah, it wasn't City, it was Arsenal. Logan Toon said, I think that FSG need to do it so they have something to throw back into our faces for the next 5 years when we complain they don't spend. Well, one question that I get asked, probably more than any other question when I'm doing one of our live shows, is, do you think that they were really willing to pay the money for Caicedo? That's a question that I get asked over and over again. And it surprises people when I answer it, because yes, I do. I just don't see the upside of what they did and the way it panned out. It made the situation look a lot worse. But with Michael Edwards involved, like I've said, I do think we're going to be a little bit more calculated and measured in this. If Wirtz was the position we needed the most, if we were all sitting here as Liverpool fans saying we've been crying out for a player in this position for 2 years, then I think maybe. But it isn't. And that's where I get confused. We'd all love him. Hell, I'd absolutely I'd be doing cartwheels, fat wheels, whatever you want to call me trying to do a cartwheel if we did it. Absolutely, it would be a signal of intent that I think would put Liverpool as the favourite to win the Premier League again next year. And I would say one of the, if not the favourite for the Champions League. That's how big a transformational signing I think he would be. And it would transform us. Now, I guess let's look at it a different way. We also know that one of the factors that Liverpool have been concerned about losing Trent was a creativity problem. And we don't currently have enough of that in our team from midfield. A lot of our creativity is coming from fullbacks or even Virgil pinging diagonal balls. So if you put in a Florian Wirtz into that, somebody who can operate between the lines and somebody who can chip in with goals and assists, it would absolutely transform and make up for all the shortcomings in the area that Trent's leaving. He's not a right back, of course, but with the creativity and the space to play between the lines. We spoke just the other night about the frustrations we still have as Liverpool fans playing against the low block. And I think Wirtz would be a type of player that would be able to open that up. But I don't want to be a downer, but I just don't want people to get their hopes up either, because we've all been stung many, many times. Even just look at Huijsen. Just that situation alone, I already feel a little bit deflated about, because I had really high hopes that he was going to be coming into Liverpool and it would have been a big signing for us. But now that looks like it's off the table unless something changes quickly. Bert said, any updates on Cherki? That deal, I think, will still be the first one to get done. I'm very confident that Liverpool are bringing in Cherki. I know we're going to speak about Haddo in a minute, and we're going to speak about Frimpong on the right side as well. But because there's so little talk of Cherki going anywhere else, and we've been long admirers of him and his, obviously, bromance with Szoboszlai, I just think that that's a done deal. You know, that's a good feeling, by the way. I'm not trying to say I have information to say it's a done deal. I don't. Mr. Ragav asking the same thing. I think that's the one you should be most relaxed about, in my opinion. Because it just feels like it's done and tailor-made. Honestly, it just feels like it's so obvious. It's been spoken about by some pundits even as something that they consider a done deal. But of course, you do have to go in there and agree a fee with Bournemouth, which, you know, Bournemouth aren't going to want to be rinsed this summer either. They can't do anything about the situation with Huijsen because he has a release clause. They may lose Semenyo. So we're going to have to factor that in. But remember when we spoke about an article a few days ago suggesting that Liverpool were going to allow Bournemouth to finish their season before being pushy over any transfers? And then here comes Real Madrid, kicks the door down and said, we want a player. And now they're getting close to sorting out the legal matters of it and getting the contract sorted out and getting the parameters of the release clause sorted out. So it feels like at times we get punished for trying to do the right thing or trying to act classy as a club. It looks like football landscape's changing, and I think we need to be a bit more of a shithouse in these scenarios. Joseph said, Elliot part of a Wirtz deal. Love you, man. Thank you so much for the kind words. No, I don't. When I'm talking about Elliot, I mean, he's probably the one creative force in midfield that we will cash in on if we're to make space for somebody like a Wirtz. Newcastle strongly linked with him. Eddie Howe really, really likes Harvey Elliott. Other leagues I've seen, the likes of Wolves, Fulham, and a couple of others. But when I'm speaking about that, I don't think send him to Leverkusen because their squad's getting ripped apart at the minute. But I do think if we sacrifice Elliott, somebody in the Wirtz mould would be exactly what we need. And I'd far prefer us to spend the money on Wirtz than be linked to the likes of Xavi Simons or someone like that. All these big names, but think it's all PR again, said Sam. Well, mate, I don't blame you. I've no pushback there, Sam. I don't blame you one bit if you feel that way, mate, because I think I do as well. I feel like they have to get one of these over the line because we've been sitting here for years talking about their apparent willingness to go out there and get a generational talent if they're available, right? We spoke about it with Bellingham and we've spoken about it with many other players. And we've always been told that for the right player at the right time, Liverpool are willing to do it. So here's another opportunity. Now let's see if we do it. Let's see if this is another one of those that we have our nuts tickled a little bit, but ultimately we're left with blue balls while somebody else goes off or goes home with our prom date. So let's wait and see what happens. Ryan said, Craig, saw your stream mentioning putting weight back on, but the fact that you lost in the first place shows you can do it if you want to. Nothing to be ashamed of. Keep your head up. That's so lovely of you, Ryan. Thank you. Yeah, it's the thing I'm most conscious about. And as I've mentioned many times, I don't even want to. I'm even ashamed standing up to do our live shows and stuff. I feel so self-conscious about it, and it's all my own fault. But I would say I was 13 years younger when I did it last time. But yeah, I plan on trying to do it, my man. And with wonderful people like yourself show me some support, I'm sure it'll help me along the way. So thank you. I really appreciate that. Aaron said, would love to see Wirtz, but can't see it happening. We don't make enough big money signings. Would require Darwin and Diaz gone to fund it, and I don't think Szoboszlai would fancy being second fiddle. So, lot to talk about there, but let's talk about the funding part of it. We have the ability right now to go out and spend a load of dough. We have that ability. And sometimes, yes, you might need to free up a space in a squad before you go and put the money out there for one. But sometimes you just have to move. And we've heard that Liverpool are willing to be reactionary, or Liverpool are willing to seize opportunities when they present themselves. Well, this is one of those opportunities. And if we met with him yesterday, which I believe we did, very, very credible German publications as well as others saying that meeting definitely took place, then let's hope that we've sold him on the vision and the plan. I don't even think wages-wise it'll be much of a problem. And Dave Powell, who I think is the Echo's financial football finance expert, he broke down how this could be done and how it wouldn't be a huge stumbling block to Liverpool in their transfer pursuit one way or the other. You know, if it's amortized across 5 years, and if he extends, that becomes an even lesser amount on the books each year. So all these things are possible. Like I've always said to you, the amount of money that we can spend is huge, but it's just a matter of if the owners want to put their hands in their pockets. Somebody said in less than 18 hours, Romano will tweet Wirtz, Liverpool, no chance. Well, at least I don't think Real Madrid are going to be in that mix for Wirtz. So, you know, he loves a bit of twerking for Madrid. Eddie said, Craig, do you think that the owners not giving us any money for players is punishment for the Super League? No, I just think they're cheap. I think, look, there's two ways you can look at it. For somebody like me, who's very much frustrated with the owners, my argument is we have the ability to spend money. Don't talk about football finance and debt as a dirty thing all the time, because it isn't. And there are many, many, many ways to run a football club. And the way that they choose to run it is the cheap-ass way to run it. I.e., they want Liverpool to generate all of its own money. They don't want to front load any money for signings or anything like that. They want us to be self-sufficient. And to do that, we've got to obviously keep increasing revenues. And we've done that a lot. And to be fair, to their credit, they have done that a lot as well. They've given us a lot more commercial partners. They've given us a lot more consistency with regards to European football in the Champions League. But as a fan, my pushback to that is, what's the point of all of that if we're not seeing the benefit in the transfer market? And that's been my argument all the way through. We've always heard about the great Nike deal, the Adidas deal, the Husqvarna deal, and all these other deals that we've had. But we've never seen that backed up with serious spending in the transfer market. And we keep getting told about the wages. But again, it's all just an excuse. An excuse. The owners can spend money if they want to. The football club have a huge gap before they get to any PSR problems. And if they don't choose to spend it, again, it's a choice. Just, if you take one thing from what I'm talking about, just keep that in your mind. If they choose not to spend it, it's a fucking conscious choice. It's not because we don't have the ability to do it. And that's why I've always said that this summer is going to be the make or break for them. They either put up, or they're going to have to listen to a lot of us complaining a lot louder, because you can't get ghosts through another window. You can't keep... We've actually started weakening our squad, if you think about it, from the perspective of the players that we're not replacing. The Gini Wijnaldums, the Joel Matip's, players that just aren't being replaced in the squad. So they can't keep doing that. They can't keep pissing away money on the likes of a Chiesa who the manager doesn't want. They need to just be proactive, and we've been promised that this was going to be this window. So let's wait and see. I've seen a lot about Rayan Cherki opinions. The opinions that I've been given when I've spoken to people are mixed. Some people think that Liverpool are semi-interested. Other people think that we are absolutely not interested. The honest answer for me is, I don't know. I don't know what. I don't know how serious our interest will be there or not. But the problem is probably going to come down to, how do I say this without sounding like I'm an asshole? The background checks. You know, Liverpool will not want to bring somebody into the dressing room that may be considered a disruptive force. And I don't know enough about Rayan Cherki to say whether he is or isn't, but I know that it's potentially an issue. So, you know, the money involved is a very fair amount. Like, was it £20 million, €22.5 million, easily affordable. So, again, if it's there to be done, if we want to do it, but I don't know if Liverpool truly do want to go after him or not. Luke Belton said, I've got too much PTSD from previous transfer windows, man. Same. I'm every year I tell myself the same thing going into the windows. Don't believe it. Don't buy it. Don't open yourself up for the hurt. Stick to your guns. You know you've been right most of the way through. And more often than not, as I've said, I have been proven right, that they just won't pony up the money. But I'm open to it. I want it to be the case. I want to be wrong. I very, very much want to be wrong. If we sign Wirtz, we ain't getting Isak, no way. 100% agree on that, mate. 100%. If you were to... It's actually a good point of conversation. If we were to sign Florian Wirtz, I would definitely feel like the situation at centre forward would probably take a twist away from anybody above 60 million quid. Which probably rules out a lot of the players that we've been already discussing. But it depends where you want him to operate, Florian Wirtz, as well. Because, you know, he is a multifaceted player that can play behind the forwards or across the front line. So it depends what Arne Slot wants. Does he want somebody to be a 9.5, a Firmino-esque type player, or does he want an out-and-out centre forward? Still a question I don't think I can answer, as I don't know. And I don't know if I'm on my own here. I don't know what Arne Slot football is. I'm not 100% sure yet, because we've seen so many variations of the way we've played. But the consistent team is we struggle against a low block, and players like him could be a huge difference maker there. Chris, lovely to see you as always, my friend. How are we? I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Not related to the Reds, but could you give me a mention to a new EP I'm bringing out called Home? Comes out on all platforms from Friday. Talk about a shameless plug. Mate, happy to. Send us a link to it. Email us a link to it, mate. We'll throw it into the community tab of the channel for you as well. Chris, you've been a long time member of our community, bro, and we're here to support you in the same way you're here to support us. So, anything we can do to help you out, bro, be my pleasure. Stephen, God, I don't know where all the love hints are coming from, but man, I'm blushing, honestly. Thank you. You're an amazing individual. You always make my afternoons when you stream clips, watch-alongs, news. Thank you, mate. Thank you. I appreciate it. I do. It's easy to do what I do when we've got people like yourself in the community that we have here who contribute so much every night to the channel in a positive sense, and I really appreciate that. Right, let's have a look at the poll. And by the way, thank you to everyone that is in with us. And don't think I'm ignoring news, because I've got so much more to get through, but I'm trying to play catch up with the chat as well. But I'm able to stay on a bit longer tonight if needs be. Right, so let's have a look at this poll. It's had over 2,000 votes already. Do you think FSG would pay the £120 million for Florian Wirtz? And 67% of my fellow Liverpool fans feel no. And that's where I'm at as well. So I'm in the I'll believe it when I see it camp. Now, I would dare to say, if I asked, would you want Florian Wirtz? Well, actually, fuck it. Let's do it. Let me just ask, do you want Wirtz? And then we'll see I think a disparity in the answers, because I think most people would want him. So let's wait and see. We'll come back to that one in a moment. So I'm going to read through a few comments and then I'm going to get into some more news because I want to keep the stream moving along as well. Elvis, how are we, dude? Said, for me, Liverpool act like a small club in the transfer window. When's the last time we beat a top club to a player considered the finished article? Van Dijk. That's the one. Van Dijk, we were battling with Chelsea, United, I believe, and a few others, and we did come out on top of that one, to be fair. But that's the only one I can think of. Maybe I'm stupid, but I'm cautiously optimistic that this deal goes through. Well, I don't think you're deluded, mate, but we've been told that the signings that Liverpool are looking to make will be transformative signings that will allow us to compete for years to come. So you're right to have the optimism about the type of signing it should be. And maybe it's just me being Johnny Negative over here, but I'm so used to being underwhelmed in the transfer market with these owners that I just, I always get excited and then come back down to earth, and then usually it plays out and we don't do it. So, like yourself, I'm hopeful, it's possible, and we're certainly in the mix, and I want us to get it done. Right, Elusive Glue. Jeff, how are you, bro? Craig, I thought we were in May. It feels like April the 1st with the Florian Wirtz bull. I do not believe a word of it. Love you, Craig. I didn't expect the story to come about in the last couple of days. I will say that. It definitely was one of those that caught me off guard. Because in all the conversations and back and forths I've had with people, it wasn't a name that ever came up with anything other than Manchester City in the Premier League. I've never, ever seen credible links with us to him until the last 2 days. But the stories do really say that we've been working on, or at least registering interest in him for a long time. 1-2 said Wirtz, the new Bobby. Bobby also a Bundesliga number 10 before Liverpool and becoming a false 9. Sloppy and picking out a position for Diaz there over Darwin Jota. Ooh. So I did kind of flirt with a similar thought process. I had wondered whether he would be that false 9, for want of a better term. Because he's operated in that position at times for Leverkusen. But maybe he is. Maybe that's where they see him. And if that's the case, then it would make a lot of sense to put a lot of eggs in that basket. If we're all sitting here talking about Akitikis and talking about blah-de-blahs, maybe Liverpool think, well, let's go with Wirtz. And then you've got Dan's. And if Dan's comes through to be the player that we all think he's going to be, then you've got Dan's, you've got Wirtz, you've got young Rio coming through. Then you've got the likes of McConnell, Nioni. So the future would look good in that regard. And yes, this would, at the very least, buy us a bit more time to not have to be rushing into a striker market where there doesn't seem to be much value in it at the minute, because so many huge clubs are looking for a striker that the prices have gone ridiculous. So just let's take Hugo Ekitike as an example. When he signed for Frankfurt, it was for about 13 million. And now we're talking about 80 million. He's not improved that much in that length of time to justify that. He's not an 80 million pound player in my mind. So again, I can see the same link as you, my friend. And I would love that to be the case if he was the one that we're going to utilise through the centre. Even if it is not in a direct number 9 position. Maybe we, again, rotate through. Maybe we have Salah cutting inside a bit more. Maybe we have a bit more fluidity in the front 3. E.g., ESG Soccer said, getting punked, right? We're getting punked. Honestly, man, look, here's what confuses me. Christian Falk is a very pro Bayern Munich journalist, right? At CF Bayern, literally his tag. And he's saying, without any doubt, that Liverpool are moving strong on this one and that have met with him. And I don't see why he'd be doing that if Bayern were so nailed on to sign him, because again, Bayern are making a big play for him. It's been assumed for a very, very long time that he ends up at Bayern Munich. So if Christian Falk and the German publications weren't so strong on this one, I would have no time for the story. But as I'm going to show you over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you 3, 4, 5 different German publications, all with varying degrees of, yes, Liverpool are there. Stevie Boy said, so Liverpool waited for Huijsen to finish the season. If they're really keen on the player, the release clause should have been paid, act like a big club. Yeah, it felt like we've sat on our hands now and we've allowed Real Madrid to come in and sniff around. Now, he hasn't 100% signed for Madrid yet, but it definitely feels like that's the direction this story's going in at the minute. And you're right, mate. I often think we're too nice. You know, there's a lot to be said. As an example, there was a post that's doing the rounds at the minute from a Paris Saint-Germain fan. Not sure if you guys seen it on social media. And the Paris Saint-Germain fan said, look, I'm not a fan of any English club. I support Paris Saint-Germain. But the difference in the class of the two clubs and the fans of how they reacted to being knocked out by PSG, they laid very clear in this post. That Liverpool fans were very congratulatory to PSG, were very respectful of the situation. The club wished PSG well and all this other stuff. And then they go on to Arsenal, who they said were beaten by the highest margins and only made out like they were robbed. And that's true. So from that regard, yeah, we do try to carry ourselves in a certain way as a club and certainly as a fan base. But I do think sometimes we lack enough shithousery tools. So as an example, sometimes when there's a player that, let's say Harry Kane, I would have loved Liverpool to shithouse Harry Kane and try and put an offer in when he was at Spurs. Alex Ferguson did it all the time. And Liverpool, because of the way we operate with these owners, you know, we're always seemingly looking for bargains. And that's how we're conditioned as fans to think. So I guarantee if Chelsea were being linked with Wirtz today, or Man City again are being linked with Wirtz today, none of their fans are sitting here asking, will the owners pay it? They'd all know 100% they would. And that's an indictment of FSG's ownership of our football club for us. As fans, we can't see these links that are credible and feel optimistic. Why is that? The answer is FSG. That's the answer. Because we're browbeaten as fans into expecting the bare minimum that when we get anything that even resembles a decent signing, we're almost like Oliver with the bowl. Please, sir, can we have some more? So yeah, we need to start acting like it, but we also need to start holding our owners to account like they're running a big football club. Just seen a pig fly past my window. Have you? Well, catch that motherfucker. You know? We barbecue that bitch. Come on. It's just a little airborne. It's still good. It's still good. It's just a little slimy. It's still good. It's still good. Slightly off topic, Craig, but I hope Diaz renews his contract and we keep Elliott and Chiesa, as I think they're all great players. Love your streams, man. Thank you, Alex. Much appreciated, bro. Look, I love Harvey Elliott, but I have to say I do understand Klopp's thought process. It's not Klopp, excuse me. Slott's thought process if he wants to move him on. I would rather suffer a bit of sadness seeing Elliott go, knowing that whomever is brought in is going to actually get a chance to get some minutes. This season has frustrated the hell out of me looking at the bench and going, well, he's not going to get on. He's not going to get on. He might get 10 minutes. That's not good enough. I want to look at our bench and think the manager trusts every player that's on there and the manager's brought them to the club or kept them at the club. So if it gets to the point where we do lose Harvey Elliott, I'm okay with that. As much as I love the lad and I want him to stay, if the manager isn't going to play him, then we have to just move people on. The Canade situation's scaring the shit out of me, by the way. But at least if Madrid sign Huijsen, that probably restricts the opportunity for them to need Canade. So maybe that helps us out a little bit, but we still have PSG to be concerned about there. Lee Hughes said, yes, I read that, Craig. Shows the class of our fan base. Yeah, it was lovely to see. It was a very nice touch from that PSG fan, and it was nice to read it as well. Right, look, I'm going to go through some of these stories for you because I know there are people waiting in the background, so let's get through them. We'll start off with the Frimpong and Barcelona stuff. So there have been a couple of sporadic reports around Frimpong and Barcelona. The first person that I'd seen mention it was Dave O'Cop, and then today there was that guy Ismail Mahmoud who put up a post saying, exclusive for at Win All Sports, Barcelona enter the race for Frimpong, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe that there's anything concerning Liverpool in that regard at this moment. I think if Liverpool want to make that Frimpong deal happen, it will happen. He wants to move. He's more than open to the move. He is homegrown, and that would help us out a lot. It just depends on how far along in the list of priorities right back is for Liverpool at the minute. And the answer is probably not huge. But I still think that deal is way, way, way more likely than any potential from going to Barcelona. Way more likely. I'm not even concerned about the Barcelona links yet because they haven't come from anybody whose opinion matters to me, if that makes sense. Then we've got the Madrid stuff with Huijsen that I don't want to go over. Actually, let's talk about this. Let's talk about Real Madrid being shithouses again. So this piece here from Jason Burt of The Telegraph said, Real Madrid have asked Liverpool to release Trent Alexander-Arnold for free so we can play in the Club World Cup group stages. The Spanish club have not made a financial offer to Liverpool and simply hope they will relent and allow the right back to join them. So then we have ESPN saying Liverpool are demanding €1 million or £840,000 to let Trent leave early and play in the Club World Cup. So there's two parts of this that I'd like to discuss. First of all, the money. The money, look, if he's released early, should we get some money? Yes, I think we should. But the point that I'd like to make here is I'm fucking sick of Trent. I'm absolutely sick of the narrative being about Trent when we were playing Arsenal, about the second half, about the parade, about the title celebrations. I have a pain in my arse listening to Trent's name being involved in everything that we should be celebrating right now, and it being a reason as to why it might not be as fun or as enjoyable as it should be. So for me, I would say, do you want to go to Madrid early, Trent? Okie dokes, mate. Off you pop there now. We'll release your contract right now. Away you go to Madrid and be done with him. End of him, not have to listen to him again, not have to look at him again, not have to deal with any of this absolutely annoying crap anymore. That's what I do, because I am sick to death of it. I'm sick to death of Liverpool fans being looked down upon again. I'm sick to death of this, isn't he, poor little Trenty boy, poor little Trent just wants to be loved. In my mind, he absolutely rinsed the club. In my mind, he dragged this situation out, manipulated it in his favour. And again, the timing of that video just before the Arsenal game, like what the actual fuck? It does my head in. Like, have you not seen the stuff that says, oh, so you'll never walk alone, only applies when you're at the club? You've all probably seen varying amounts of that post. Why is it when you'll never walk alone it's only applied to fans? Why is it that all the adulation, love and upbringing that Trent was given at Liverpool Football Club, that you'll never walk alone doesn't apply to him towards us and the club? Why is that? Why is it always just a one-way street where players can do whatever the fuck they want, look after their own interests, be self-serving, and we're supposed to smile and applaud them? If you want to smile and applaud them, by all means, absolutely no issue with that. But if you don't want to, and you want to speak out about it, stop undermining us. Stop trying to make out like we're all pathetic. Stop trying to make out like we're some scumbag of a fan base. It's just nonsense. All of it. He's looked after him. And if he doesn't like a few boos, tough shit. Tough fucking shit. That's it. That's football. That's life. You don't get to have everyone tell you you're great all the time and everything going your way. You made your decision. You were happy to make it. Now deal with the consequences of it, whatever that may be, and shut the fuck up and get on with it. Because I'm absolutely fed up of it all. And I'm sure I'm not the only Liverpool fan who feels like the last week has been all about Trent. Not about celebrating the team winning the title. Not about maybe beating Arsenal at the time when we wanted to do that. All about Trent and what he wanted and what's best for him and how he should be received. I'm done with it. It's just bullshit. If we get Wirtz, Frimpong and Cherki, I feel like we almost have to run a 3-4-1-2. No striker needed. Let's get Cherki and let Frimpong play wing back. Do you guys feel the same about the Trent stuff? Like, I'm not saying he wasn't within his rights to do what he did. I've been honest about that all the way through. But I'm sick of being told that we should be grateful. I'm sick of being told about everything he done for the club. Where's the other side of the debate? Where's the side that the fans pour their hearts and soul into supporting Trent, that helped big him up because he was a local boy? He leveraged all that for dough when he was here, and nobody had any problem with it. But when he goes and people suddenly feel a little bit annoyed by it or heartbroken by it or frustrated by his actions, we're supposed to just sit there and smile. That's not the real world. So, again, it just does my head in. It's all been about him. All been about him. Is he going to be at the parade? What's the celebration at the end of the season going to be like? Will he get booed again? I'm done with it all. It's just... I have a real bee in my bonnet about football fans being ridiculed of any club and football fans being held to a standard that others aren't. Ultimately, he looked after him and his family's interests, which he's entitled to do, but we should be allowed to express our displeasure however we may see fit. Aaron Gaza said Trent's PR team needs to be fired. For someone who's quiet all these years, he picked an awful time to make his announcement. Yep. And then a few hours later, Madrid were on the phone talking about releasing him. So we as Liverpool fans now have to sit back on edge about whether we get to enjoy the last two games. Will Trent come on? How will the crowd react? The camera's going to pan to Trent every fucking 2 minutes of every game. It's just all tiring, and it all takes away from our enjoyment. We didn't get to celebrate it properly in COVID times for various and obvious reasons, and now we also have this little lad looming over any celebration because, you know, he's decided to run off and join Real Madrid, and apparently now we all have to stand there and clap the leaving great who rinsed the football club of a fee and fucks off for nothing. It just baffles me. Adam said, in my opinion, the money for Wirtz says Trent is a pain to FSG too. So I do feel like Liverpool are stung by this Trent move. I definitely do. You can even tell it in the language of the way they posted about him leaving. But it's just so condescending to see people just look down their nose again and tell us all. Like even Stephen Warnock, I was watching him the other night and he's like, he said, I was at the game and I heard people booing, and he said, I turned around and I thought, really? You're booing one of your own? Well, he's not though, is he? That's the whole point. He's one of your own until he isn't. And why is that only a two-way street? Why is there nobody going, yeah, Trent probably didn't handle this well, or Trent very much manipulated this situation? It's all just been rinse the fans and cheap shots at Liverpool over his selfish actions. F Trent, no better than the noisy neighbours. Yep. Anyway, let's keep going with the news because there's loads to get through. Let's talk Jayden Danns for a little minute. Lewis Steele and Dominic King, writing for the Mail, I think, said Jayden Danns is working hard on his rehabilitation. He will hope to play a part in pre-season tour of Hong Kong and Japan this summer, but a loan seems likely for next season. 1 second, it's just one Florian Wirtz story after another. Chiesa, let's talk about him for a minute. Gazzetta Italia have said that Napoli have already made an offer to Federico Chiesa on loan with an option to buy. Liverpool are pushing for an obligation to buy. The player is enthusiastic about returning to Serie A. The deal is at a very advanced stage. What do we think on that? I'd be pretty frustrated if we loaned him, to be honest with you, without a cast iron guarantee of a fee at the end of it. Because if he goes on loan, his value is going to go down because he's gotten a year older. It's not like he's 22, 23 here, you know. He's at the peak of his career right now. So for me, if Liverpool have decided that he's not for us, we have to sell. Or we have to have a cast iron concrete guarantee that after a year's loan, there's a clause that cannot be backed out of. So I hope that Liverpool hold their nerve on that one. Again, we may be split on wanting Chiesa to go or not. Loads of us want him to be given a chance. But going back to what I mentioned about Elliott a while ago, if Aaron has made his decision and he's not going to play him, then it's best to move people on and start to free up space. DTM said, I hate footballing as a profession being portrayed as altruistic when it's one of the best financially rewarded in the world. It is. It is. And I just hate, I hate good guys who make shit decisions and get called out for it, being given a pass. So the Hendo waffle about when he was going to Saudi, about what that was all about. Nobody believes that shit. But because Hendo was such a good guy when he was at Liverpool and, such a clean cut guy, we all had to be told and pretend that it was something other than it was. And it's the same with Trent. These guys are happy to make millions off the local boy or the clean cut guy or the hero done good. And they're happy to leverage that with sob stories from Adidas about their upbringing and all this shit. Always being Liverpool, blah, 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 money, money, money. And then when that's not enough money, all of a sudden, off you pop, and all of that shit that you were put up onto a pedestal for, we don't get to throw that back at you? Fuck off. Is there any circumstance fans would be okay with him leaving? FSG probably wouldn't have let him leave at any reasonable price. I can't speak for everyone, mate. I can't. But for me, certainly would have stung a lot less if there was a 60, 70, 80 million pound transfer fee there, right? Because at least then the guy that you've produced through the academy system has rewarded the club for that education. And yes, look, he's contributed to our success. Of course he has. Trent's a very good footballer. That's never been in question. But I certainly feel that leaving for free isn't a great look. I don't. I can't speak for everybody else though, each for their own. But for me, a 70 million quid transfer fee definitely would have helped. Yeah, it would have, because you're like, okay, he's off then, but at least the club have got money out of it. But this leaving for free and to Madrid, it feels snide. Right, so back to the poll that we asked earlier on. So we asked, do you want Wirtz? And we've had over 2,000 votes, 2,100 votes, and 89% of people said yes, they want Florian Wirtz, and the other 11% aren't Liverpool fans. Surely. Because, I mean, why wouldn't you? I couldn't understand why you wouldn't want Wirtz, to be honest. I'm assuming that they were either non-Liverpool fans or maybe there is a handful of people that just don't think he'd be a good fit. Aryan said, Craig, why don't we get you to sub in at right back? Well, one, I'm left-footed, so that wouldn't be great. And two, I don't think I'd be just a shred, just match unfit at the minute. Just a little bit away from full match fitness. Yeah, you don't want me subbing in at right back. I could tub in at right back. All right, I could be that all right for you, but yeah, I'm left-footed, so. Okay, let's get through some more news. So this publication, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce this name, but if you want to have a look on X or Twitter, it's at SZ. So at SZ. And they are an account with 1.8 million followers, I believe, covering German football. And they say that it was Liverpool that Wirtz met with. The destination in England was not Manchester City's headquarters. Guardiola would have loved to welcome the Wirtz family there, but there was no appointment or meeting with Wirtz and his parents. Instead, the Wirtz family met with Liverpool representatives. And again, if you look who they follow and who they're liked by, you'll see a lot of German, like Plettenberg as an example, follows the account. But what really sticks into my mind is the stuff from Christian Falk, like I've said many times. If he thought this was all wrapped up for Bayern Munich, he'd be bigging it up because, he reports on them, he covers them. But whilst he is saying Bayern are in the mix, of course, there's a lot of pushing to say it's Liverpool that are pushing Bayern Munich on this one more than Manchester City. Sorry, I'm just again checking my notes. So there's a name that we haven't spoken about yet. So we talked about potential alternatives to Dean Huijsen, and we're going to have that conversation now because we need one. We need one. At the very least, we need one centre-back, one right-sided centre-back. And if Huijsen's off to Madrid, which it looks like, we spoke last night about Araujo from Benfica and the links to him. But there was another name from TBR Football that came into the mix today. They posted to say Liverpool are battling with Spurs and Chelsea to sign Bologna centre-back John Lukumi this summer. This is, again, one of those embarrassing moments where I say, I don't know anything about this guy. I didn't even know he existed, but it is another option at centre-back, and we are starting to have to look into those options now with the Huijsen situation looking like he's going to end up at Madrid. Martin Lawrence, please tell me you're the comedian. Please tell me you're Martin Lawrence the comedian, please. I want to see Chiesa given a chance. Couldn't be any worse than Jota or Nunez this season. Trent, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Look, the thing about the Chiesa situation is, I think we can agree on one thing. The manager doesn't want to play him. And if the manager doesn't want to play him, whatever, we all think it doesn't matter. You know, it's just been 7 million quid a year that has been wasted, and a transfer fee that has been wasted, a squad place that has been taken up, and an option that we've been short of using from the bench all season. And that's why I think you have to just let him go at this point. Because the manager's not going to play him. And if we do let him go, we also have to replace the squad place. We can't just keep letting players go and not replace them. By the way, that last part, Martin, wasn't aimed at you, mate. Alex Hardy said Araujo would be better. Well, we certainly would have a very good source in Pedro Marquez to give us, the background on Araujo, the guy from Benfica. Probably would be a lot more affordable. 50 million quid for Huijsen it's a fair price, to be honest with you, but still a fair chunk of cash. So yeah, I would imagine bringing in someone like Araujo would be okay. But the big concern for me is on Ibrahima Konate. That's the one that really worries me, because I've no doubt we can find a centre-back or two. If you want left side, you've got Mark Gay, you've got Hincapié an option you could look at, and a whole host of others. You've got Schlotterbeck, who can play in either left side or right side. You've got Araujo that we've spoken about. Diamonde, I think, still at Sporting Lisbon as well. So there's no shortage of centre-back options out there in the market. It's just about making sure that we move quickly. But if Konate isn't going to agree an extension, that's a worrying development. But ironically, Huijsen to Madrid might be a bit helpful in that regard, because then I think we only have to worry about PSG. LFC Robbo said, Craig, why is Cave Solokal from Sky saying Liverpool did not meet with Wirtz? It was only City. We touched on it at the start of the stream, mate. Obviously, look, I can't speak for Cave. I will always have respect for Cave Solokal for one thing, and that is the way he stuck up for and was stood side by side with Liverpool fans after the way they were treated in Paris and the false reporting around Liverpool fan behaviour. I'll always have respect for Cave Solokal because of that. But on this story, yeah, he definitely differs from a lot. And my own experience from watching Sky is they haven't linked us in their conversations with players that we know were being linked with. So when they were talking about Dean Huijsen yesterday on Sky, it was Real Madrid and Chelsea that were being mentioned in the conversation. And, Chelsea have a good relationship with his agent, and you just don't see Liverpool's name mentioned. And then with Wirtz again today, he said there was no meeting. So who do I believe in this? The Ornsteins of this world or Cave Solokal? Well, Ornstein. But I definitely believe the German publications more on it, because they don't really have a vested interest in bigging up Liverpool meeting with them. They don't. But it's been mentioned far and wide. So I'd certainly say, have we met him? Is that verified? I would say that's probably up in the air. Are we interested in him? 100% yes. I can't sit here and tell you definitively that we met with him, but I can sit here and tell you that those German publications that said we have are very well placed. But it would be a weird one as to justify why, if he did meet us and then went to Manchester, what was he doing in Manchester? That's the part. You'd have to imagine he spoke with City as well. I can't think of any other reason they'd be going from Blackpool up to Manchester before back over to Germany. I can't think of one. Right, what's this one? I missed a super chat from Calder. Sorry, mate. My apologies. I'm going to get through them now. Mark sent me one on, said, one from John Woods that said, don't think we'll see a signing until the next kit to boost sales. Impossible. Because the season starts 12 or 13 days after the kit gets unveiled or the kit starts being utilised. So if you're not aware, by the way, Liverpool won't be wearing a new Adidas kit for the last game of the season, and they won't be selling them until August the 1st. Now, they might pre-sell them in July at some point, I would imagine they would, but they don't go on release until August the 1st because the deal with Nike runs through to the end of July. So there definitely won't be a reason for the kit being held back because of a transfer. 100% not. It'll be too late. And then from Colzer, Wirtz or Isak. Also, what would you think would be decent transfer window? And that anything else would be a bonus. So Wirtz or Isak, again, not a like for like, but we did talk about Wirtz being in that attack. Wirtz. One, he's exactly the type of player I think we need to help us with a low block. Two, he is one of the superstars on the up and up in world football, and it would be a massive, massive statement of intent. So definitely would say I would take Wirtz there. But again, Julian Alvarez is my top priority, always has been. What's this one from Lewis Steele? There remains an expectation that Wirtz will remain in Germany next season, but both Liverpool and City will push the sign, and Wirtz is understood to have softened his stance on joining City in recent months, and Premier League appeals to Wirtz, and now Liverpool also keen. So look, again, Liverpool's named certainly in these conversations. The English journalists are all saying that he wants to stay in Germany. Have you noticed that trend in the reporting? And a lot of the German publications are saying the Premier League clubs now have a much better chance, and that Leverkusen really don't want to sell to Bayern Munich because Bayern Munich have been very aggressive in briefing the media over Wirtz. It's almost been like it's a done deal. No point in even having a conversation about it. So we're going to have to wait and see how it pans out. But it's just going to be another one of those where we all feel deflated if he ends up elsewhere. That's one thing I do feel confident enough saying. Off topic a bit. Offside rule. Nottingham Forest player Owioni now in a coma. The FA... Will the FA change the clear offside rule? Surely flag up earlier. It's been something we've all spoken about, Mark, for a very long time that may well happen. And you never want to see it happen to anybody. And of course, we hope Owioni makes a full and swift recovery. And our thoughts are with Forest, their fans, and Owioni's family 100%. But it has to be. Like, everyone knew he was offside. And the flag going up that late, when it's so clear like that, I think you just have to put it up. So I hope something is done about it because I get both sides of it. You don't want the close calls to flag up and then the goal to be scored and then you see, ref's already blown the whistle or whatever. So I guess there has to be some middle ground somewhere on it. But most important thing in all these conversations, as I've said yesterday, Mark, is player welfare. And that situation arose because the flag didn't go up. No blame intended towards the official because following protocol, that's what they're told to do. Where will Wirtz get into the team though? I can't see Dom going. Either we end up putting somebody as a false nine or we rotate. We always think as fans in very definitive 11 terms. But there's nothing to say that we can't have a group of midfielders like Gravenberch, McAllister, Soboslai, Jones, Wirtz, Bajcetic, and just rotate them. Different teams need different tactics. Different teams, we may need to sacrifice an attacking midfielder to throw in a more defensive-minded midfielder in a certain game. We may need to tweak a formation a little bit. If you're away from home in Europe, maybe you do use a false nine because, you just want somebody to be able to take the pressure off if you're defending a barrage of attacks. Loads of different things. So I would say we need to just stop thinking in best 11 terms and just think about, well, let's bring them in if the manager wants them and let them fight it out for the spots. Competition's a healthy thing in sport. So every player should have another player breathing down their neck for their starting position. And Wirtz, would be a welcome addition, I think. MC HDHF said, Kirkes, Frimpong, Rogers and Alvarez. Yeah, the Morgan Rogers stuff has gone very quiet. I've not seen much new on Morgan Rogers over the last few days. But I don't know. I'm just fully on board with the Wirtz thing today. I've been dragged in. I can't help myself. I've been dragged into it. There is a little bit on João Pedro that I'm going to speak about in the video later on tonight. A little bit more linking to him, so I'll touch on that one a bit later on. Let's give you some latest from Fabrizio Romano on Jeremy Frimpong. You can find this, by the way, on the Anfield Agenda X account, so do give us a follow on there if you can, at Anfield Agenda. So, breaking from Fabrizio Romano, Liverpool talks with Frimpong's camp over personal terms have advanced again today. So, again, allaying some of these fears about Barcelona. Players always been keen on the move, and Liverpool are progressing on their salary, length of contract, every detail of the agreement, deal close. So, excuse me, bit of a hiccup. It does look as if Frimpong's edging closer and closer. It'll be a 5-year contract to 2030. I've seen varying salary things, so I don't want to jump in and give you a number on that one, but every article has said that personal terms won't be a problem and that the player's keen on the move. And you can understand why, right? He's got his mate Gakpo there. Obviously, he's got Gravenberch there. He's got Wirtz there. He's got a Dutch manager. He gets a move back to the Premier League, where, of course, he was 9 years at Manchester City's academy. So it all ticks a lot of boxes for him. And he'd be coming in to the Premier League champions and knowing that Trent's off. So that one, I think we can say, according to Romano, deal close, which is good news. Do I have a poll up at the minute? No, we don't. Cool. I couldn't remember if I had to go back if we had a poll up or not. A couple of quick things, ladies and gents, and don't go anywhere because there is still loads more to go through. Want to give a quick shameless plug again. Nope, not that one, this one. 2 weeks to go now. 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks to the show on the left, 2 weeks to the show on the right. If you want to come and see us, we're going to be at the Hot Water Comedy Club May 25th for the last game of the season. The venue are showing the game on 20 screens around it. They're opening at 9 a.m. in the morning. The first 500 people through the door get a free pint as well. And on top of that, we'll be on stage on 7:30 with a musical act accompanying us to get you guys pumped up and ready for me to come on and wind you all up with some fun. On the other side of it, we've got our reunion show with myself, Connor, Chris, Steve and Jack, all together for one night only. Both of those shows are priced at just £20. Both of them at the Hot Water Comedy Club, and both of them coming up within the next 2 weeks. I'm honestly buzzing. We're bringing the Premier League trophy over with us, and we hope you guys can come and enjoy the night. Ticket sales have been brilliant on this one, so thank you to everyone that's got them already. Right. The legend. How are you, my Arsenal supporting friend? I got to give Amram credit for paying for 30 staff members and then family to go to the final out of his own pocket. Has more integrity than the owners. Absolutely, mate. Back that sentiment up 100%. It's an indictment of that football club's owner that this situation is the way it is. I mean, it's disgraceful. Nothing short of it. United are a club that have a good fan base, that are very backing, like our own in certain ways, very backing of managers, stick with their own, and have a certain way that they want to carry themselves and do things. And Jim Ratcliffe, since he's come in, personally, I think it's disgusting, some of the stuff that he's done and the way that he's gone about it. Especially when you're talking about someone who's a sir, and you've got staff members not even being brought to a European Cup final or a Europa League final, and the manager having to put his hand in his pocket. And remember, for the FA Cup, Bruno Fernandes was willing to put his hand in his pocket as well to pay for staff and stuff to come down. It's almost gotten beyond the stage now where you're looking at it and just thinking about banter for United. It genuinely is just shocking where that club is at and the way that it's been mismanaged over the years, I think it's fair to say. Bologna beats AC Milan in the Coppa Italia. Wow. Congratulations to Bologna on that one. That is a nice little bit of silverware there for Bologna. Right, so let's talk about this window as a whole, right? Frimpong, let's say that one moves along. Kerkez comes along at left back. I'm going to ask about Canade in a poll because I want to see how everyone's feeling about him. 1 second. Oh, God. Right, so I want to ask you, does Canade sign a new deal? That's the easiest way I think of wording this one. Yes or no? So let me know. Do you think Canade signs a new deal with Liverpool Football Club? Not do you want him to, do you think he will? Because this situation's become very worrying for me over the last week. You know, we've seen multiple reports from a whole host of different journalists to say that a deal was close. Paul Joy spoke about it, wrote about it, Fabrizio Romano wrote about it, many other journalists wrote about it, to say that Liverpool were very close to agreeing that extension. So we then fast forward on a few months later to a time where the narrative now is that there's been no progress in those negotiations and things have gone cold and quiet. That concerns me. You can only assume something has changed there, and I don't know what that something is. From Liverpool's perspective, you can imagine they won't want to repeat a trend, so they certainly don't want to allow Canate to go into his last deal. So I can't imagine that Liverpool are suddenly backtracking on something. And if it was close, what's made it go not close? What's made it go quiet? Something has changed in that scenario, and our own best guesses as fans is probably somebody's gotten in his ear. Or, and there's another possibility, he's looked at the money that Salah is getting now and the money that Van Dijk has gotten and the fact that Trent is off and maybe thinks, well, they've just got a pay jump. I want another pay jump on top of my other pay jump. So maybe his initial set of contract wants or desires has gone up again and Liverpool just think, nah, there's no value in it. I'm very worried about it. And at this moment in time, I really don't know if he stays or goes. I'm torn on it. I do think in some kind of warped way, Madrid maybe getting Huijsen helps us out because that means it's maybe one less potential club from to move to. But I do not think Liverpool will go into the start of this season with him in the team without an extension. He either gets sold or he extends. I can't see a middle ground on it. It would be another huge risk to take if that was the case. And we do have a bit of leverage here with the World Cup. Because normally you would think, well, 1 year to go, a player can just sit tight and go, nope, I'm going to join X or Y on a free. But if you want to go play in the World Cup, you got to be playing regular football. And that's where I think we do have a bit of an advantage. Because we can say to him, well, we're happy to sit tight. If you want to run down your deal, so be it, but you won't be playing. So I do hope that it's sorted out quickly, and I want him to stay. 100% want him to stay. Cam Wilson said, imagine we steal Wirtz from City. Be amazing, wouldn't it? It would feel like a real win. It would. It would feel like a massive win, and it would be the big statement signing that we haven't had in a while since Van Dijk. The one where there's no doubt other clubs wanted him. There's no doubt big clubs were after this guy. And Madrid don't seem to be in the position where they need, want, or can move for him. Manchester City, we can easily say, well, we ain't getting deducted points. We don't have 115 charges over us. We can guarantee you that we're going to be moving forward for the next few years. But can they? No. So then if it comes down to us versus Bayern, it's a matter of does he want to stay in Germany or not? And that I don't know the answer to. Asentino said Ratcliffe probably will blame tariffs for not paying. I don't know what else to say about him other than for somebody who's an apparent fan of the club, the way he's treated. And look, they've disguised it as, it had to be done. The club was in such a perilous financial position that it had to be done, or the money could have run out by X or Y. But the way they've gone about some of the things just feels classless. No, Carl, I didn't look into your membership, mate. I'm really sorry. If you can send us, though, that one post, it'll give me the answer. If you can send a membership anniversary post or anything like that, 1 second. Let me message Connor now. Connor, mate, is there any chance you could check into Carl's account, as in Domestic Butler, that Carl's account, and see how long he's been a member for? Because he's concerned that his streak was broken while he was away and you can't check how long he's a member for. Right, what else have we got? The Ducky, how are you, bro? Said, would love Wirtz and Frimpong, absolutely buzzing. It'd be incredible, wouldn't it? They really would. Be incredible. Rory said, Canade has been sweet-talked by Madrid. He plans to run down his deal. Liverpool have to deal with it one way or another. There's 100% he won't be running down that deal. Liverpool aren't going to let that happen. And like I said, I think we'll be ready to play hardball if needs be on it, because we've got to look after our own interests here. And can you imagine the fume from me and many other Liverpool fans if that was to happen? If he ran down his contract and left for Madrid, it's sign a deal now or be sold. That's the way it has to be. And if you don't want to be sold and you're planning on digging your heels in, then as I mentioned, enjoy training with the under-21s for a season, because we're willing to take the hit in your wages and make sure that we look after ourselves and you won't go to the World Cup. Because there's no way you're going to get picked to play in a World Cup if you're not playing week in and week out. So if we have to be shitty about it, then we have to be shitty about it. But we do have to make sure that we don't see a repeat of a situation where a player's running down a deal. Right. Just checking a few things. Some of the noises French Bulldogs make, by the way, are absolutely mad. You swear they're being tortured at times when they want to get outside or something. There's a really high-pitched noise that they make. Andy said, give him the summer. If he hasn't signed a new deal, well then sell him. But you've said give him the summer. So in that time, what's the summer? And that's what I'm confused about, Andy. Because, you know, you can't give him until the season starts because too late, and we want to know what we need to do. It should be you have till the end of this season to tell us if you want to stay or not. And no longer than that. You know, if this has been in negotiation and talks for a while and it suddenly stalled, no more benefit of the doubt, no more longer time frames. Either sit down, negotiate, and we agree a deal, or you get sold. No more kicking the can down the road shit. It can't happen. There you go, Carl. There you go. So you still have the answer. Well, I'll tell Connor 1 second. It's all right, Connor. We figured it out. He is still 45 months. And thank you anyway. So yeah, there we go, Carl. Nice one. Happy that it worked out the way you wanted it to. Sometimes my stupidity and my idiocy from a technical perspective catches me out there. It would feel like a win for footy. F City, said Cam Wilson. It defo would. And I'm fully on board for the F Manchester City part, mate. Andy said, sorry, I meant pre-window ending. June, first week of July, wasn't very clear. Yeah, for me, look, I think we need to know what we need to do. So if we need to be planning for a centre-back, then I don't think we can risk losing somebody else if Canade doesn't make his mind up. So I know it sounds really harsh, Andy, but I'd put a cut-off point of much sooner than that. Just a personal preference. But I totally get where you're coming from. David said, give him till the start of June, middle of June tops, then you're gone. And at that point, though, the player will be on holidays. And when they're on holidays, you know, I don't know. I would want to be doing this while he's still around every day training. You know, I would want to be able to get that sorted out, not when he's off away from the club on a holiday. Right, so let's check the poll. Does Canade sign the new deal? We've nearly had 1,000 votes, so do keep voting away in it. We're about 80 short, so keep voting away, and then when we get past 1,000, we will let you know what way people are feeling. So there's so much stuff tonight that I've gone through, and so much stuff I haven't had a chance to go through yet. If you bear with me and give me 5 minutes of your time, I'm going to run through from top to bottom every bit of news that we've correlated for today. If you're all right with that, and we'll run through it all. And that way you guys will be up to date if you've come in a little bit late with everything that's been written today. That gives us a view to Huijsen, gives us a view to Wirtz, gives us a view to Frimpong and everything else. And Gertrude, we haven't even gotten to speak about him yet. So let me run through all of this. So let's start off with that exclusive, which I don't think is an actual exclusive. That was Barcelona enter the race for Jeremy Frimpong. Sources confirm that the Catalans are intensifying talks with the Dutch fullbacks camp, hoping to beat Liverpool to the deal. Liverpool are ready in advanced talks, but Barca's potential package and proposal and the idea of playing Barcelona is turning heads for Frimpong. He hasn't made his final decision yet. And again, I don't think that's the case. And I don't really think that this is a source strong enough that we should be too concerned. Then we had Jason Burt of The Telegraph saying Real Madrid have asked Liverpool to release Trent for free so he can play in the club group stage of the Club World Cup. The Spanish club hope to get him for free and haven't made a financial offer to Liverpool, simply hope that they will relent and allow the right back to join them. That's the type of shittiness that we're dealing with here for Madrid. Just want us to let him go for free. Well, for me, if that letting him go for free, then you go now. Then we cancel your contract now. Bye-bye last day of the season. We'll post to your medal. Don't get on the bus. If you want to go and Real Madrid wants you to go, then you leave right now, this fucking minute. Pack your stuff at the exit and off you go. And that's the way I feel about it. That's where I'd be at it. ESPN report that Liverpool are demanding €1 million or £840,000 to let Trent leave for free. Either that or Trent just gets Madrid to shut up and stop asking. Because either way, it's reflecting badly on him, whether he's the catalyst for it or not. The whole situation now about when he leaves is reflecting badly on all of us. And, if he wants to leave early, then, let him leave early, but leave early now. It should suit us the way this works out. Costas. Leeds United are considering a move for Costas, according to Lewis Steele and Dominic King of the Mail. Sticking with Lewis Steele and Dominic King of the Mail, RB Leipzig's Lucrel Gertrude is one of the alternative options to Jeremy Frimpong. It's not Liverpool's style to just focus on one individual, they say, and Gertrude is a serious possibility. Again, though, we do think the Frimpong deal is moving along, so that probably negates the need to look at anybody else. Then, sticking with the same two gents, they said Jayden Danns is working hard on his rehabilitation. Will hope to play a part in pre-season tour of Hong Kong and Japan, but alone seems likely. Then we had all the reports starting to pile out of Germany about Florian Wirtz. And this one in particular, one second, said Liverpool are pursuing Florian Wirtz, reports kicker. Then on from that one, we have Liverpool have thrown their hat in the ring for Florian Wirtz from kicker. Wirtz also met with Liverpool on Tuesday when he flew to England. Then we had a report from Davos C. Kopp saying Florian Wirtz travelled to Liverpool on Tuesday with his parents to visit the club ahead of a potential move, according to reports. CF Bayern, Christian Falk, said there was also a meeting with Liverpool and Florian Wirtz on Tuesday in England. Liverpool have held talks with Florian Wirtz. Bayern Munich are now getting agitated, was another report. Sticking with Christian Falk, Florian Wirtz flew to Blackpool to meet Liverpool officials yesterday. He then flew to Manchester. Whether Wirtz met with City officials remains to be seen. Liverpool is now also involved in the pursuit of Florian Wirtz. The English champions and their coach are said to be extremely interested in strengthening their squad with the signing of Florian Wirtz. Kicker again said the race for Florian Wirtz has now become intense. Moving on to Gazzetta Italia and Federico Chiesa, they say Napoli have already made its offer for Chiesa on loan with an option to buy, while Liverpool are pushing for an obligation. The player is enthusiastic about returning to Serie A, and they go on to say the deal is at a very advanced stage. Sticking with Kicker again and Bild, two publications in Germany, Liverpool can easily match Bayer Leverkusen's asking price for Florian Wirtz, reports Kicker. Bild said Florian Wirtz and his family was with Liverpool officials for over an hour in Blackpool. Then we had this huge publication in Germany that I mentioned, at SZ, with 1.8 million followers. They wrote, The destination in England was not Manchester City's headquarters. Guardiola would have loved to welcome the Wirtz family there, but there was no appointment or meeting with Wirtz and his parents. Instead, the Wirtz family met with representatives of Liverpool. Then we had David Ornstein, who said Liverpool made contact with Florian Wirtz camp to express interest in signing the playmaker if he leaves Bayer Leverkusen and is keen on moving to England. Long-standing admiration, but unclear whether he plans to exit Bayer or Germany. Then we've Kaveh Solokol taking a very different stance on it, saying Liverpool are not working on a deal to sign Florian Wirtz from Bayer Leverkusen at the moment. They did not meet the player in England yesterday. He is a player they've been aware of for some time, and in the event of there being any prospect of him wanting to move to England, they will be interested. As things stand, the indications appear to be that he wants to remain in Germany. So, even from Sky, you're seeing varying reporting from Sky Germany and Sky in the UK. Different reports, which, look, I'm thinking Sky are behind all the time for me on transfers. I don't know if anybody else feels the same, but my own gut feeling is usually that they're 24 hours behind everybody else. Ben Jacobs said Liverpool are interested in Wirtz but believe he will either move to Bayern or stay at Leverkusen. If Wirtz decides to move to the Premier League, things could advance. Same situation for City. There has been contact from Liverpool with Wirtz's camp, but denials from sources that an in-person meeting took place with his parents yesterday. Now, the denial from sources part there, for me, is the denial from Liverpool that they took place. Because I can't imagine that they have the same level of sources in Germany with respect to Ben Jacobs that all these German publications have, particularly ones that focus on German football. So again, I would expect Liverpool to deny anything like that, but I'm sticking with the ones from Germany that believe that there was a meeting. And to me, I believe there was. David Ornstein said Liverpool's admiration is long-standing, but unclear whether Wirtz intend to depart. Then we had Romano starting to speak about the fact that Real Madrid are moving for Dean Huijsen, and that one looks like it's probably going to happen. Paul Joyce said Liverpool admire Wirtz and have been in touch with his camp as they consider options to bolster their creativity. Their interest comes with the expectation that they think he will remain in Germany. Should that change, they would pitch for the player. Liverpool are battling with Spurs and Chelsea to sign Bologna centre-back John Lucumi, Lucumi, this summer, writes TBR Football. Then we had an exclusive from Caught Offside, or what they claim to be an exclusive. Frimpong transfer to Liverpool is now at the final stages, sources have told Caught Offside. €40 million release clause to be triggered, 5-year contract to be accepted by the player. Then Fabrizio Romano said Liverpool talks with Jeremy Frimpong's camp over potential terms have advanced again today. Players always been keen on the move, and Liverpool are progressing on the salary, length of contract, every detail of the agreement, deal close. Then the stuff from DiMarzio, lawyers are now working to finalise Dean Huijsen's transfer to Real Madrid. So that's pretty much the news that I've gone through over tonight. And let's go back to the chat now for the last 10 or 15 minutes for any questions or any thoughts you guys have on it. Appreciate your patience there while I was working through all of that. Right, I think I've missed a couple of super chats that I don't want to ignore either. There we go. This one from the legend said Lampard looked like he was holding back tears after Sunderland knocked them out. You backing Sunderland or Sheffield United? Defo want Sunderland to come up over Sheffield United. Definitely. Can't really stand Chris Wilder these days. So yeah, I would want Sunderland to come up. And I agree with you on Lampard. It definitely looked like he was hurting a lot after that one. But he showed a lot of class as well, to be fair, with the way that he answered all the questions and congratulated Sunderland. Just waiting for Pearce to shut Wirtz down. Well, he hasn't. Nor has he shut down Frimpong at all. So, you know, like you, I always keep an eye out to see if James Pearce comes in quickly to try and pour cold water on these things. But, you know, right now, what we're seeing from the Liverpool-based journalists are that there's definitely an interest, but they feel he's going to stay in Germany. And that's understandable, because there's always been an expectation that he leaves Leverkusen and goes to Bayern Munich. Or maybe just stays in Leverkusen. I don't think he'll stay at Leverkusen because they're losing their manager. They're about to lose a load of their players as well. and they're not going to be as big a force next season. So I do think the likelihood is that if he stays in Germany, it will be at Bayern Munich. But let's wait and see. Let's wait and see is all I can say to you. But it's certainly a story that I didn't think we'd be talking about 48 hours ago. Craig, when you finish your stream, can you check my post in Discord? Think it will interest you. Yeah, I will. I can't check it now because my phone's not here on my work table with me, but I will have a look at it after the stream, Andy, no problem. Craig, could we still get Isak, or is it not on the radar anymore? So there was a post from, let me check, I can't remember off the top of my head who it was from. Go through my notes, one sec. Where was this one? Was this one it? Yeah, Sami Mokbel of the BBC said Alexander Isak would be intrigued by the prospect of joining Liverpool, but there's no indication that the Swedish international will force a move. So I don't know what that means. The one I'm finding quite interesting at the minute, though, also is Rayan Cherki, and trying to see how serious Liverpool's interest may be in him, because I truly don't know. As I mentioned at the start of the stream, I've got varying degrees of feedback on Liverpool's interest in him. Sean Handley said, I'm trying not to get too excited about Wirtz, but I can't help feeling that this is similar to the Luis Diaz deal. We liked him for a while, Spurs made a move and we jumped in. Could be the case, Sean, and we were very quick there. And I remember Roberto Firmino as well. Remember, I think it was Ian Ayre at the time, went all the way over to Brazil at that time because there was lots of interest in Roberto Firmino and we didn't want to lose out. So yeah, we have been known to move quickly. Look at Dominic Szoboszlai. I know different people running the transfers at the time, but again, we moved quickly, got that release clause sorted out before it expired and brought in Dominic Szoboszlai. So definitely know how to move quickly when we need to. TOTT2KZ1 said, sorry I'm late, Craig. No, unacceptable. You're sacked. Driving home from coaching my under-15s in cricket, 2 wins from 2. Well done. Nice. Looking forward to having Frimpong at right back and right wing cover. Very excited. Yeah, it is. And I wouldn't be surprised if we got the here we go on that one in the next day or two. Sean said, yeah, Firmino as well. So look, there is a possibility to do it, and let's wait and see. I guess if the player says I want to stay in Germany, not much you can do about that. But what I don't want to see is him leaving Germany and then all of a sudden not ending up at Liverpool, because that would just feel like Lenny Yoro's situation all over again. And oh yeah, we're in from, yeah, if it doesn't go to Madrid, we're here, we're ready. He's not going to Madrid, lads. Oh, yeah, sorry, we're not signing him. Why? Price. Yeah, price. So let's wait and see. We are going to stop selling merch, by the way. We're not happy with the company. We're not happy with the customer service they've delivered to our community. So we're going to withdraw in the next day or two all the merchandise from this particular company, because we're not happy with how they're treating you guys, and we're not happy with the turnaround times in their orders, and we're not going to stand for it. So just wanted to update you on that one, just in case. What else was there? The shows we've already done. Again, less than 2 weeks to go now if you want to come and see us. I think that's pretty much everything covered this evening, ladies and gents. If I could, again, just ask, if you haven't dropped a like on the stream, we're nearly at 1,000 likes. Please do. And also, we'd love you to hit that subscribe button. Connor keeps wanting me to plug the Clips channel because it's flying at the minute. But a lot of people think that they're subscribed to the Clips channel and they aren't. So if you can check that one thing for me, Anfield Agenda Clips, just give it a search on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to it, please do. Because if we can all jump in, we can get that channel to the 100k to get the silver play button for the Clips channel. And that would be incredible. So if you can do that one little thing for us, just double check if you're subscribed to the Clips channel. If you aren't, you know what to do. And it would make a huge, huge difference. Thank you. I'm going to go and record the news video for the evening because there's more stuff coming into my inbox as I'm sitting here. So keep an eye out for that. It'll be out before 11 o'clock. We We'll probably see you on Friday. I'm not sure if I'll be live tomorrow night or not. If news dictates it, then yes, I'll be on tomorrow night. But either way, we'll have some content coming out again tomorrow. Again, appreciate your support tonight, folks, and we'll talk soon. Much love.